Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Morning Market Movers, where we do live analysis for day trading and take a look at hot spots in the markets for today, Thursday, June 23rd. My name is Todd Rich. I am with Nadex, and we do have Brian Caprice from Keep Trading Simple back. So
Sort of,
it's very
sort of.
nice. Sort of.
Kind
Me,
of, kind of.
we got Brian's on his way up. Meanwhile, I'm not 100% this morning. So you got a 50% Todd and a 50% Brian. I'm on my way down. He's on his way up. But we'll do the best we can. Quite the pair. What are we looking at today? Once again, we've got Powell testifying. Now, yesterday, Powell was testifying. He did say some interesting things. The markets took note. Um, because we were looking in the red yesterday. Once he started speaking, he wasn't going to say anything completely bombastic. The markets did come back. We kind of trended sideways for most of the day. What was he saying? What Powell was saying was that the concept of a soft landing, it might not be very realistic. Uh, he definitely said he's targeting inflation and wants to bring inflation under control. And asked, was he trying to trigger a recession? The answer is no, he's not looking to trigger a recession. He doesn't, we don't have to trigger a recession. I mean, remember, recession would be negative growth 2 quarters in a row. Um, is it possible? Yes. Is it necessary? Not necessarily. Um, we could just see slower growth as we try to correct on inflation. Now, we'll see how they press him today and what he says under the testimony today. But you do know that there's a lot of people posturing, trying to get gotcha questions in there, and that's just the way the politics of that works, because it is in front of the Senate Banking Committee. But in reality, he's going to try to, you know, be as candid as he can, and hopefully we'll see what people glean out of his comments. All right, we are going to be taking a look at gold, bit of a channel, trending lower overnight, but gold's been moving, oil and nat gas moving, and the equities all looking to try to open in the green this morning. We'll see how that goes. All right. Before we jump into a couple of the other headline news, which there's not much of, and the charts, and we've got Brian's charts back. Woohoo! I do need to share that trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for everyone, that any trading decisions you make are solely your responsibility and at your own risk. And this is an educational session. Please do not construe anything Brian or I say as a buy or sell recommendation. We are doing this for your education purposes. I am going to quickly, um, you know, when it comes to gold, it was trending lower all evening. We do have some interesting levels where we know where we had buyers. They did come in 7:30 this morning. They tested that level again. The unemployment numbers came out. Gold took off. It is in this channel. So for those of you channel, we would. It is trying to punch up to the end of the channel, but we are trending lower. Uh, some of this could also be some profit taking from Europeans overnight, but we've got some volatility in gold. Brian will also punch up his levels in gold. We'll also be taking a peek over at crude oil. Uh, it did bounce yesterday. Oh, it did not. It did. There it is. It did bounce yesterday after bottoming out, and we were like, "Oh, so excited!" Down at 102, still ridiculously priced. Right now, at that level where we know sellers have come in before, we're testing that level, but we'll see if oil can is going to start punching higher. Brian, I'm going to bring it over to you. I don't know if there's any. Uh, I was going to bring up the. You know what? Let me just flop this over here real quickly because I know Brian's having difficulty chatting this morning. Let's
Yeah, a
make
little bit.
this bigger. We don't. I mean, we don't have a lot. We also could potentially take a peek over at the yen. It looks like the yen is the one currency pair that's been moving a little bit. We're seeing some movement here. I mean, with the dollar and the pound. But when we take a look at news overnight, um, in for the euro, PMI actually came in lower than expected. So, I mean, but again, not really moving markets. These unemployment claims coming out right in line. Maybe people were expecting it to be infinitely worse than what they were. Everyone's thinking we're going to have a recession right now. Not necessarily. And we do have Powell speaking. So not a lot. We do have, and the one headline news is Germany on nat gas, and we'll take a look at that. But I don't know if that's a really impacting our nat gas prices. Might be doing something over in Germany. Um,
Not yet. I was just looking at that.
all right. So, that's so funny. I was talking and I wasn't using this screen.
Yeah. No, it's fine. I was cycling through. Um,
Yeah, but you were cycling through. So here, let me flip it over to Brian.
yeah,
We can take a look at a couple of these other headlines, and then let's get right into the charts,
sure.
the energies and the equities.
Yeah, and I apologize if I suddenly just stop and turn red. Still coughing. Slow recovering. I don't know. It's 2 years, and yeah, they got me after 2 years. So, but I'm putting up a valiant fight, and I feel better today, the first day, but not great yet. So we'll do the best we can with it. Um, this is an interesting headline. Business expectations slumped to the lowest since May 2020, basically when COVID came out. We really started closing things down. As we mentioned before, the UK has a lot of problems right now. Inflation over 9%. They just raised again 5 times in a row, and it's not slowing inflation down. So Powell's comments are pretty important, and I would say right now, today, that's probably the biggest news that we need to watch out for. The comments that he made yesterday are kind of they've deviated slightly, saying that, it may not be realistic. Remember before it was like we may not go into recession. Oh, I'm not trying to put it in there, but um, trying to do it and doing the actions that will eventually lead to it are basically the same thing. Um, Again, he's trying to, maintain the political correctness of it all. What I think he's happening, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's some more comments today that really kind of send the market crazy. Um, and again, markets are in the green right now. Looking at all of them, VIX is up slightly at 1%. I wouldn't say the VIX is really doing really anything too crazy. It's still within inside of kind of a predefined range. Everything is up a little bit, but that's also what you would expect to see if you're expecting for a red down day today. Reason why is if the markets all go up, that means you can short it for a higher price than you could if the market was being pushed down in the overnight. I think they're going to talk about recession. Again, we're talking about things like gas holidays and um, you know, I, I'm all for paying, less amount for gas. The problem is there is a lot of tax money that comes in from that, and where are they going to make that up from, or are we just going to run into deficit? Um, that's kind of the big question that I have. Um, so we'll see. But seeing these all up just slightly right now, looking at all of them, it doesn't matter which one we look at. I would say that you're seeing they're all coming back and kind of peaking. They're really within kind of the range from the last time we talked last week. Last Friday, they haven't really left that range. They're still kind of stuck. ES is still within. Really, I'd say I haven't been here all week, but it's really kind of flat. I mean, we're not seeing too much movement, but we are pulling up into an area right now where there have been some sellers, and we're already starting to see the U.S. trader come online and the price starting to tip a little bit. So I would say right now, if this thing does turn red today, I would say probably targets most likely down here. There is a little bit of a tested zone that I would say could be a potential for a bounce. Again, unless Powell says something that's completely earth shattering, would be 36.6375 level. It is a level of basing and has supported it twice, and we do have a confirmation touch right here. So, it's kind of the extreme range of the fib right there. But right now, on the way back down again, there's a little bit in the middle. And that was yesterday morning. Kind of got that pop, and then it retraced. Besides that, there's only a little bit of a basing that's already touched 3 times, and I can see this turning and rolling. So, right now, my opinion on this would be, I say, hey, listen, I'm a little bit more bearish. The ES, NQ looks almost the same. I mean, it actually came up and bounced off of a level that we had drawn from last week. Again, parabolic move up, and it kind of retraced, didn't go all the way back down, but has really kind of been fluctuating back and forth between those two areas. I would say for this one, a similar target level down south. I mean, I would put this one right around the 50% retracement level. There's a level sitting right here, and it's kind of tucked right into the 50% as well as the 61.8. If you really wanted to draw it, you could say that there's one, and there's another one at the 61.8. So there's really kind of two levels on top of each other. But as you can see, this one is starting to pull back down again, finding a little bit of basing here, but it's going to start punching lower, and none of these are fresh levels. So I would say as far as downside target goes on this one, I'd say probably 11,402 flat is right around there. That 50% retracement level is. Pal speaking at 10 o'clock today. So again, this could be one of the one of those like 10:30 reversals where price kind of gets pushed down at the open, and then Powell says something that kind of shoots it down again, and then he says something to provide fair balance in the other direction. The people are like, oh no, that's good, and then kind of takes it off again. Or what he says drives it down. We stabilize at lunchtime, and then we go back up again. So um, NQ right now is the strongest. So again, that will probably have the hardest time getting down that low, but it is a level at 14. I'm sorry, 11,402. YM looks also similar. We had that parabolic move, and again, 30,000 was a big level. We talked about it last week. But as you can see, this one, none of the fib draws really were that great on it. You can see, actually bring this up to a 30-minute real quick. You can see on this one, if you go from high to low, I think fib wise, right? If you look at the 50% where that is, and we'll kind of zoom over to right here. It should be it's right here. It's this dark line. You can see that was right where we kind of had a close in the market in a gap. So I would say watch out for that fib level. Again, it's got a lot of room to run. We've had a couple of Harry Potter trades. This one is already out. We've got a bunch of other little smaller levels in here. Things being punched through. Whoops, I want to delete that. So right now, again, it's hitting an area of sellers that we saw in the overnight. These sellers started actually yesterday at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. So it's an area where sellers have confirmed that they were. As far as pushes go, I would say 30,000 is probably the target on this one. It's a level of basing. We've hit it, pushed it kind of deep, but then we tested and took a nice little bounce off of it at 9 o'clock yesterday. I would say that's probably where I would say 30,085 is where I target this one to the downside. Could Powell say something, absolutely amazing? Like, I don't, there's a lot of things he can say, but I think everybody pretty much knows where everything is going at this point. It's just how severe recession is going, what it's going to look like. So, but again, I think that's probably a decent bouncing level. And then Russell is the weakest right now. And again, Russell is also running into the same areas. So I didn't have a chance to update this one. And you can see we just came back. And as far as that last high low goes, we're flirting around the 50. And this is an old level here that we have Harry Potter off of it a couple different times. Um, Here would be your new level up top. And again, that's kind of what we went off today. So this was an old level in there. But you can see it's kind of the same setup. You got an area here where we had a zone and it pushed it deeper and then pushed it deeper and then pushed it deeper again. And the next area we have any testing is going to be all the way down here, which happens to be, again, this double green was one of those large time frame levels that we had talked about. And again, it cycled through and used kind of as a bottom a couple times. So I would say Russell, as far as anybody that wants to be short out there, I'd say 1663 is probably where you're looking. Um, One of the biggest changes that I'm seeing here from when I looked at charts last would obviously be oil. Um, I think I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a question today. And again, it's not like Powell's decision was to put a gas tax holiday on there, but I'm pretty sure he's going to talk about it. Obviously, budgets and deficits and things like that are not the Fed, but again, it is obviously a very political based notion about where it can come from and where the spending and how much it's actually going to cost the U.S. government. Those are questions that, again, he will know the information on. Whether he answers it, I don't know. But as you can see right now, if you take the last high to low, right here around the 23, we're right at the 23.6. And again, it is a level we've had sellers come in. Right now, it's looking like it could be more of a negative morning as well, all the way down to 101.80. I don't know how much of this is really the gas holiday. I mean, you can see it's actually stabilized a little bit since yesterday. The fall is still not happening. I think this is still more of a recessionary based story. Like, yep, we're going in a recession. It's not going to be a soft landing. What's it going to
Yeah,
look
and
like?
I just it's just interesting that people would be so far in front of it selling oil. Well, there's not going to be the demand. Well, when? There's
Yeah,
still demand for oil. So I find it interesting that people will go, well, eventually we won't need the oil. Eventually,
yeah,
yeah, that would you would think that the price would come down then. Uh,
well,
Not so anticipatory of
yeah.
something that hasn't happened yet. So it is
Well,
I
yeah.
find that to be an interesting move.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. The market tends to be more forward thinking. I mean, it is called the futures market. You're basically agreeing to buy something at a specific time and price in the future. The Fed has done it completely the wrong way and has tried to be reactionary after the fact. The market tends to go first. It always tries to factor things into the price. The reason it's going down now is because we know we're going to a recession. We don't know how deep, how long, but the
Right.
Fed told us we're going to get the unemployment rate's going to go up to 4.6. So it's absolutely coming. Everybody knows it. So the futures market's like, listen, I'm not going to get stuck holding that contract at 110 when the current price is 100. So the market will always move faster than the overall demand does. It's trying to get ahead versus the Fed is trying to play catch up.
For,
So
yeah,
I'm not
for
really
sure.
surprised that it's moving. And again, that's just the nature of the market. Natural gas is the other big mover. Now, natural gas really kind of ended the week and dropped lower. And again, you mentioned that news out of Germany, and I saw that right before we started. That basically an hour ago, that Germany has now basically, they've triggered this level emergency gas plan, and they're saying that it's going to be a really tight winter. Like it's probably the country to warn the situation is going to be really tight in winter. Really tight means that they're making it. We must not delude ourselves. Really tight means that they've made it. The problem's going to happen is if they all of a sudden can't make it. Right now, natural gas is not moving. Obviously, right now in the United States, people are not thinking about natural gas. The drive for it is not there. The United States does not do a winter fill up, not in June. Um, One of my students, Ernest, you guys know him. He posted an article this morning about how the asphalt in Texas was melting. So, right now, natural gas in winter is the farthest thing on your mind. Um, but
Yeah,
seeing this drive back down again, you know, what? Go ahead.
you know, yeah, no, I was gonna say the other thing, and you might have missed the story while you were out, but uh, a U.S.
There's a high
company.
probability of that.
No, they're building new. We're actually building nat gas facilities in Louisiana. Uh,
Mhm.
multi-billion-dollar facilities being funded to export all of it. Um, Agreed to send a bunch to Germany. We're sending it to Asia. They're building a second facility. So unlike oil, where no one's investing to extract additional oil, we are actually investing in that gas, and we're gonna we're gonna package it up, and the U.S. is going to be shipping it out. Um, so
Yeah,
those
I
were
mean,
some
can they?
interesting. That's actually what
Yeah,
we saw some of this happen, and this is what caused some of these moves down. And I wish I could tell you the name of but that was just a couple days ago. But big investments from foreign companies, locked up
yeah. I mean, right now it hasn't
agreements.
changed it at all. But if you
So,
look at natural gas futures, here's Monday. And like I said, I haven't looked at it since Monday. So this happened
so
since actually Sunday. Here's Sunday. The price on natural gas
yeah.
hasn't moved. So I would say, I mean, the reality of that is they said we could not bring anything online to help this year for this winter. Um, but I mean, the reality of the whole natural gas situation, and I'll go up to a weekly basis. Um, this is
Look
this
at
is what
the
natural gas has done.
volatility. Is that crazy?
So it's great that it's $6, but I mean, here's what Russia is used to getting $1.50 for it. So they're like,
Yeah,
fine, do it, send it. I'll take $6. They're still getting it for three times what they were before. So we
yeah.
haven't, unfortunately killed the monster.
No,
That's
no,
just the
no.
reality of it.
Yeah,
So, but right now, I would say that natural gas is probably, and again, hearing things like it's going to be tight, I think is absolutely great for them. That means they think they can make it. If the problem is going to be is if they guesstimated wrong and they don't have enough, and then people start, we're scrambling in October, November because we're having an unusually cold winter and people are dying because we don't have enough. Then it's pie on everybody's face, and that's when we see
yeah,
major movement. So right now, I would say I'd probably be a bit more on the bullish side of things with this. Infrastructure is extremely important. We'll see where it goes. As far as currencies go, the yen is the biggest mover right now. Obviously, the pound we know is weak, but things are just pulling back, and even they're all pulling back. I wouldn't say anything is really out of kind of range for where we were. You can see, what, yesterday, 2 days ago, we got the 136, and the island still exists. It hasn't died yet. And now we're back under 135. And again, throw some simple fibs on this one. You can target this one on the downside. You can see the level of basing and the bouncing. I'd say look for a yen down here at 134, dollar yen down at 134.12. Really not that far. Um,
it just we've
Dollar CAD.
normalized the
Yeah.
135 in the yen. By the way, when 130 was a no touch zone.
Yeah, we couldn't do it, right? And even with oil, I mean, seeing oil down here at 105, you're like, oh my god, the dollar CAD must be up to like 140 at this point. This is horrible. You can see that it hasn't moved at all. It's still within the
No,
same range that we were standing in last week. So it just goes to show you. I mean, is it a temporary halt? Yes, but now they're looking at the U.S. as a recession. What is it going to look like for everybody else? So there's not massive amounts of strength out there associated with it. I mean, listen, this is not moving at all right now. For where we closed last weekend off, we were sitting right in here at that same level, and we're there right now 4 days later. So you're not seeing the weakness roll over into currencies yet, which shows me that there's more to this story at this point. But
yep. As we wait. All right.
yep.
Well, listen. With that, any questions for Nadex, please email us customer service at nadex.com. Brian and I are also accessible. Please feel free to reach out to us via email. I love to hear all comments, concerns, feedback. We're it's a work in
Not email
progress. Always
accessible
will
today.
be.
Will not
But
be answering emails today, guys. I will answer them
yeah,
when I've recovered. But
uh,
gladly, you're more than welcome to send them to me. So
Yeah, and I know I think I'm actually delinquent on one email reply that I have to get to. It's like we're doing 50 things at once. All right, and I'm not going to recap everything. We are waiting to hear what Powell's going to say. Powell's going to be testifying again in front of Congress today. We're going to hear more about the pending recession, what the Fed is planning to do to curtail that, and what we're going to be doing about inflation. So more to come. We'll see what hardballs get thrown at Powell today. And then tomorrow, I think tomorrow morning, we actually have our oil inventory reports in the US, the oil inventory levels, which we'll take a look at that tomorrow morning. Uh, it
By the
got
way,
pushed because of the holiday.
let me add this. Yeah, let me add this in there as well. We mentioned forex, and everybody says they're not a forex trader, and I talk about how this is going to be the year of forex. Looks like June 16th was the single. It was a record-breaking single largest contracts in the CME group traded on currencies. So
Yeah.
even in the futures market, single largest day. It just shows how much money is being pushed towards currencies. And if you're not in that market right now, you're missing out on opportunity.
So yeah, 100%, 100%. All right. Well, Brian and I will be back tomorrow morning. We will wrap up the week. Thank you so much for joining us. Glad to have Brian back. And until then, good luck in the markets, everyone.